Every year in Chicago, the Millennium Park Christmas tree lighting is supposed to be, the official start to the holiday season.
Right. It's this moment of peace, of community.
But this year, the lights came on, and that moment it collapsed instantly.
It was a brutal juxtaposition. You had thousands of people there for this joyous event. And then, boom, moments after the ceremony, just an eruption of violence.
We're talking about an estimated 300 young people.
The shift from holiday cheer to just sheer terror was, well, it was shocking.
And that contrast, the way this symbol of harmony was just shattered, that's exactly why we need this deep dive.
For sure.
Our sources were looking at police reports, witness accounts, and a really intense community debate. They paint a difficult picture. So our mission here is to pull out the key facts, look at the human toll, and, crucially, unpack that polarized community debate.
Because we're not just, summarizing an incident. We're exploring how this one moment exposed these deep fault lines in a major American city.
Okay, so let's start right where it all began, at the scene.
The sources all keep coming back to one thing: the suddenness.
The speed of it, right. This wasn't something that built up over hours.
No, not at all. It broke out moments after the lights were switched on. And that's key to understanding the panic.
People had no time to process what was happening.
Exactly. Witnesses just described this wave of noise and chaos. And with around 300 people involved in a packed space, the police were immediately overwhelmed.
It sounds like a stampede scenario, really, where the fear itself just takes over.
It does.
We have this really powerful account from a witness, a woman named Linda Dixon, and she just brings the trauma of it to life.
What did she say?
She said she was coming out of the theater and just saw everybody running.
And her specific words are what really stick with you. She said she almost got knocked in the street because everyone was running that way from down here.
Wow.
When you hear that, you understand people weren't just leaving. They were fleeing in, blind terror. It confirms how chaotic it really was.
Okay, let's unpack this a little further, because the fear was completely justified. This wasn't just pushing and shoving. There were weapons.
The firearms.
Yeah.
And the human toll was devastating.
What were the initial numbers?
The first reports were fragmented, but horrifying. They said 7 teenagers with gunshot wounds.
7.
Now, the investigation later clarified that to at least 5 victims, but that just reinforces, this was a high-stakes, violent attack.
In the middle of a city-sponsored holiday event.
Exactly. And the seriousness of the injuries, you can't overstate it. One of those teens was in critical condition.
Critically injured, right?
Yes, a life-threatening gunshot wound to the torso. The sources are clear. This incident could have easily been a mass fatality event. It completely changes the narrative from just, disorder to a major violent crime.
And the violence wasn't just directed at civilians. Law enforcement, the officers trying to restore order, they were targeted too.
They were. Multiple police officers sustained injuries, which tells you a lot about the hostility of the crowd.
These weren't just incidental injuries from trying to break things up.
No. Officers reported being directly assaulted.
Yeah.
And they were attacked with mace and stun guns. Stun guns.
Yeah.
So this wasn't just resisting arrest. This was a targeted attack on the police. At least one officer had to be hospitalized. The injuries were that severe.
That is just a staggering toll. Gunshot victims, one fighting for their life, officers attacked with weapons. And the official response, they made arrests pretty quickly, right?
They did. In the immediate aftermath, 12 individuals were arrested and taken into custody.
12.
But here's where reality hits. If the estimate is 300 people involved in the chaos, 12 arrests means the vast majority just scattered. They got away with it, at least for now.
That's a huge gap. Does the source material give us any insight into how they plan to, find the other 280-something people?
Not really. The focus shifts very quickly. The sources talk about how hard it is to identify people in that kind of dark, chaotic environment.
So it's more about damage control.
It seems so. The debate pivots almost immediately from police procedure to social policy. They know they can't realistically prosecute 300 people, so the conversation becomes about preventing the next time.
And that shift brings us perfectly to the community divide. This thing just blew wide open. What's fascinating here is how the event fractured the city's conversation.
It really did. It didn't unify people in grief. Instead, it highlighted these two really distinct and often conflicting calls for action.
So let's take the first one. This seems to be a call for, strict parental accountability.
It is. It comes from a place of deep frustration. You have residents voicing serious safety concerns, and some community leaders saying change has to start at home.
that the behavior reflects a breakdown in discipline.
Exactly. And this view was summarized very powerfully by a reporter named Joseph Collins Jr.
He had a quote that was, let's just say, it was very controversial.
He didn't hold back. Collins Jr. said that parents need to take control. And then he added, and this is the quote, that some kids need a good old-fashioned switch to their backsides.
Wow. Yeah, that phrase, a good old-fashioned switch, that lands with a lot of weight.
It does. It speaks to this feeling of complete powerlessness against the violence. It's a belief that other systems, schools, police, social programs have failed, and the only tool left is immediate personal accountability.
A call to restore an older, stricter kind of order.
Pretty much. It's an expression of desperation.
So that's one side. What about the other side of the argument? The one focused on systemic change.
They argue that focusing only on punishment is short-sighted. It misses the bigger picture.
The underlying issues.
Right. This viewpoint calls for comprehensive solutions. So long-term investment in programs for youth development, education, job opportunities.
When they talk about underlying issues in Chicago, what are they really pointing to?
They're pointing to decades of disinvestment in certain communities. High youth unemployment, schools and parks with no funding, generational poverty, a lack of mental health resources.
So the argument is that the riot wasn't the disease, it was a symptom.
A very violent symptom of a larger civic disease, yes. And you can't cure the disease by just punishing the symptoms.
So you've got this classic tension, immediate personal accountability versus holistic long-term investment.
And that debate is now shaping the official city response. They can't ignore it.
Which brings us to what's being done now. What concrete steps are officials taking to try and bridge this gap and, stop this from happening again?
The official response seems to have three main pillars. First, the obvious one, a top-to-bottom review of all security protocols.
Crowd control, physical barriers, that sort of thing.
Exactly. The second is a focus on the youth themselves, trying to identify and intervene with those who are most at risk before they get to this point.
And the third pillar?
The third is what they're calling collective action.
Cooperation.
Yes, and this is the most critical and probably the hardest part. Leaders are urging everyone to focus on healing and rebuilding trust. The strategy is all about increased cooperation between police, community groups, and families.
The stated goal is a safer, more equitable Chicago.